Scooby-Doo, Scooby-Doo, Scooby-Doo.
On this episode of the History of the Chorus podcast with Curtis and Josh, we take a look at the band known as To Speak of Wolves. Make sure to follow us on X, because that's what we're apparently calling Twitter now, at Is Survived by Pro for news and the latest episode postings. And make sure to subscribe to the show, leave us a 5-star review, and write us a comment on YouTube or whatever podcast service you're using. Make sure to check us out on TikTok and give us a follow at Is Survived by Productions. And if you'd like to see us do some live streams, leave us a comment or tweet us the keyword stream. Now, without further ado, let's start the show.
The devil is in Atlanta, army surrounded.
Sink likes to drip, soul starts to slip. I wander around negative space. Living just to lose. Courage starts to bruise. Ooh, I am consumed. Trying to find my place. I am the shovel. Yeah, I am the grave. I'm looking for trouble with a smile on my face. Welcome back to the History of the Chorus podcast, sponsored by the Church of the Seventh Track, where each and every episode we take a look at the history of a band from the core genre. And I like to bebop and scat my way through the lyrics sometimes. I'm Curtis, and with me as always is my co-host, Josh. What up?
What up? What's funny is I was just thinking before we started that those lyrics were so fucking stupid. The sink drips. I am a shovel.
Is it not? I mean, it was weird because I didn't even think about it until I started reading it off. I was like, I'm at a deaf poetry or what is it? Slam poetry, right? Yeah, slam poetry. I'm at a slam poetry reading right now. What's happening? That's why I kind of got all jazzy with it.
There's a lot of bad rhyming. Have you noticed throughout their discography?
Yeah.
It's sometimes they struggle to kind of make things rhyme when maybe they shouldn't really do that.
What rhymes with orange? Come on, people. We gotta think of something. Yeah.
So
well, we'll get into those thoughts here in a moment because I know you got some beef. You got some thick beef today, or don't you?
I got
quarter
some
pounder
beefs. I don't know. I'll tell you all my thoughts, but I just want to say right off the get-go that somebody already did this, and they're called O Sleeper. So
True.
I feel like
there is a connection though. So that's kind of interesting. There is a connection to that.
Well,
band,
they're taking a lot of elements from O Sleeper and Under Oath, and I feel like they don't really know who they are.
There's a connection to both those bands, so we'll get to that.
Okay.
But before we do, Josh, there was a brand new episode of the History of the Chorus After Hours this week, all about the band Vanna. You said there was something. What'd you say? How did you describe it? You're furious.
That I was shaking with fury.
You were shaking with fury. Yes. Tell us what you were shaking with fury about.
And it's going to be the most minuscule thing, but I can't believe that neither of you knew that Zombie was the Cranberries.
Oh, that's right. I could not think of what their name was.
I think you just passed over it so quickly. You were like, oh, whoever sings Zombie. And then Eric was like, yeah, I don't know. All right, well,
all right,
I'm just like, the Cranberries.
Yeah. Right. You're one of those people just yelling at it. The Cranberries, the Cranberries. Oh, well, I guess we'll never know.
No.
Yeah, I don't know. It's one of those two where it's and we've done this a couple of times where we try to remember something like that. And I think it either happened on that episode or the next one that's coming out this week, where we were trying to remember something. And just in the middle of trying to remember, we were both like, what are we doing? We both have phones right now. Why can't we just look this up real quick?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's why did I not just look that up? And it's so stupid too, because like I knew that band's name for like the longest time. And for some reason, just that day, it just like was out of my brain. But yeah, it's funny how we're just like, yeah, oh well, moving on. I don't want to linger too much, you know.
Yeah.
That is actually not what I thought you were going to talk about. I really thought that because I held off telling you until that episode came out at the very ending there when we talked about the Vanna comeback. Did you get to that part of the episode?
Is it I heard that they released like another track.
So Eric's telling me this is when we were getting ready for the 2 episodes that we recorded, and he sent me this screenshot on Spotify. He goes, did Vanna release a new track or whatever? And it said 2023, and it was something called like Midnight or something like that. And I told him, I was like verbally out loud, I was like, no, 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 no. So quickly I went to YouTube just to try to look it up, see if it was really a thing. And thankfully it turned out not to be. It ended up being some band called Ivana. It's like I think it's just a girl by herself. And I told Eric, I said, Spotify must have somehow just like messed up on that. And I was really freaking out. And I told him, I said, more like I was more freaking out because I knew that the original guys were already in another band. You know, they're already doing In Spirit.
Yeah,
And so it's
didn't you
like,
say they
so
reformed up as like a whole new band, like the original group?
yes, yeah, they did. It's called In Spirit. And their goal is to like try to do like sound of like curses and church party, but like more like developed, better production, stuff like that. So I
Okay.
told him, I said, so I'm freaking out over here because I know it's not going to be those guys because they're too busy doing that thing. So it's got to be the guys that finished out with Vanna. And it's like, no, 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 no. If you want to do something else, that's fine. Go start your own band, which you should have done way long ago, you know? So yeah, I was kind of surprised that you didn't say anything about that one, but anyway.
No, I wasn't too disturbed by that.
Okay. Yeah, because I
Um,
was disturbed.
Let me ask you this. The album behind you, is it
Mhm.
said myself is less than letting go, or is it said letting go is greater than myself?
That's a good question. I don't know.
I thought that several times, like while I was listening to that
I don't
album. I
know.
was like,
I was just thinking just a little bit ago. I was like, I wonder how people actually pronounce that one. But I don't know. I haven't figured that one out.
or maybe it's not even supposed to be like a greater than less than sign. Maybe it's like myself and letting go.
That's how I always looked at it, was just myself letting go. So I don't know.
Hmm.
I just noticed that you don't have a background. Is that a sign of the future here of this episode?
A sign of the future. Woo! No, I'm just on
Well,
vacation, bro. That's why I've got my hoodie on. It's freezing out
yeah, he's
here.
all the way up in Alaska under the northern
Freezing.
lights, man.
I'm
From the he's out camping right now. That's what he's doing. He's got
live
his
on
microphone
location.
attached to a rock. That's what he's got it attached to. Nice. No, I just I was like, he doesn't have a background. Is this trying to tell me something about what he thinks about this band?
No, I'll go over to my background once
Oh,
we
once you get
do
through the
our
okay. Well, why don't you go ahead and
collages.
yeah, why don't you go ahead and get started with that? Because mine's not much of a collage, so why don't you go
Is it
ahead?
just one one
It's
bit?
one album. I have a reason for it, but you
Must
go
have
ahead and
been
start.
good.
I mean, it was good, but I mean, I had other things going on, so but yeah. Proceed, sir. You may proceed, Barber.
Uh,
Oh, troubles.
where
Maybe
did it go?
technical
Players.
difficulties.
There we go.
Oh, okay. 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 I
All
recognize none of
right.
these.
You got at the top here, that's Advocate.
Okay.
That's their first EP, Provost and Judge.
Okay.
We've got 4 Years Strong over here. That's Rise or Die Trying. On the far end here, that's Story So Far, Proper Dose. That was their most recent one. So a couple pop punk and the rest were getting pretty heavy. Right behind me, I don't know if you can see the wolf's
That's
head on
yeah.
a spike. but
Oh, a
that
plea
is
for purging. Okay,
yeah, it's
gotcha.
the Marriage of Heaven and Hell. We've got Years Since the Storm. That's their To the Clouds EP. And then we've got on this side some good old Kublai Khan,
Kublai Khan.
and that is their
Nice.
first one also.
Nice. Nice. Which one would you recommend listening to first?
I started softer and got
And
heavier.
heavier. He's like,
So
this, I need something heavier.
it
This is
really
not heavy
went
enough. I need something
like
even heavier.
this. So and then Kublai,
Came
and
back.
then yeah. So
I started the week on a story so far. I ended it on a plea for purging. It's a pretty incredible week. Very
yeah,
nice,
it's a
man.
great
Very
week.
nice. Okay. I had one album. Besides the fact of I wasn't too familiar musically with the band they're going to talk about, so I spent a lot of time listening to that. But
Oh,
my other time was
are you gonna go see him? Isn't it like Monday or Tuesday?
no, it happened this past week.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
because he asked me if he asked me if you were going. I said, yeah, I don't think he did. Yeah, I think it was Thursday that they came to town. He said it was really good.
okay.
Um,
Yeah, I've seen him before.
oh, you've seen the Anchor before?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. You didn't tell me that last time.
Yeah, they always hit Vanguard like on their
Yeah,
tour. They're always here.
I was about to say he was telling me tonight that what did he say? They said Tulsa's basically a second home to them. I didn't realize that they're from Denver, Colorado. I told him I said for some reason I was thinking they were East Coast. I don't know why,
Hmm.
but yeah. Yeah, so this is I think it's an EP, I'm pretty sure, because there's only like 5 songs on it, and it's just a
Mhm.
self-titled. This is my first taste of the Anchor, full album wise. I've heard a couple of songs here and there. It was really good. I enjoyed it. Um, but yeah, I only got to really listen to one album besides the band that we're going to talk about. Um, because the rest of my time was spent listening to a bunch of podcasts this week. So yeah, doing a bunch of catch up
Same.
on my podcast. So yep, that's it, man. That's what it was. How the hell do I get out of here? All right, we're back. Yeah, for a moment there, I totally forgot how
All
to.
right, I'm ready.
My God. See, here's the problem. This guy right behind you,
Uh-huh.
he looks like Micah from Oh Sleeper.
Does he?
Yeah,
Huh.
I feel like he
Well,
does.
Curtis, what if I told you that that was Micah and this is Oh Sleeper?
They
Because
call you a
that's
liar.
basically who we're talking about today. That is Micah, dude. This is Oh
Nice.
Sleeper.
No, it's not Micah.
I did that on purpose.
Oh,
This
that's
is them.
funny. That's funny, man. Okay. Yeah, this is interesting because this band only has 3 full-length albums and 2 EPs, spanning a time of 2009 to the present. And they have such turnover member wise, it's ridiculous. In those 3 full-length albums, they've had over their tenure, they've had 3 different vocalists. The guy that's behind you there, he's been there the longest, vocally or as a vocalist or whatever. But let's just dive right on into it. If you're not familiar with who we're talking about, today we're looking at the band known as To Speak of Wolves, categorized in the genre of metalcore and post-hardcore. Ever heard of this band before getting into this episode, Josh? Oh, wait a minute. He's been censored.
I think I've heard of them, but I've never listened to them.
Okay. Yeah, I told you I said they've always kind of been there in the background for me, and I've heard a few songs here and there, but never really got around to really deep diving into them. And so I kind of felt like it was a good little episode to have in between AFI, which is 3 parts, and then the next band that we're going to talk about, which is looking to be about a 4-parter. So thought a nice
I'm
little
exhausted
break.
thinking about going through Zayo's discography.
It's gonna be tough, buddy. It's
Like
gonna be
I
tough.
know I'm gonna get hype once we get in there because there's so many of their albums that I really love,
Yeah,
but it's a journey, and
it's a
we
lot.
can't. We didn't even talk about this being in there, but we're gonna have to talk about Lesser Lights of Heaven, like the
DVD.
yeah, that's gonna be a whole freaking thing. Like this is gonna be such a long labor of love.
Yeah. Labor of Love. Formed in 2007 in Greensboro, North Carolina, as a result of several bands splitting up. These bands include Sullivan, This Runs Through, and Human Flight Committee. The Human Flight Committee.
Who?
Yeah, I don't know.
I'll
Small
tell you,
bands that
none of
split
those
up and didn't
names,
make it.
none of those names, Curtis, were half as good as Pianos Become the Teeth.
This is true, man. This is true. Our first official lineup here, Josh, is Aaron Marsh on vocals, Matthew Goldfarb on guitar. Nice. Drew Folk on guitar, Aaron Shelton on guitar. 3 guitarists, man, to start it out. All right, here we
See,
go.
I'm into that. I'm into that.
Okay.
But I tell you, Curtis, I couldn't hear 3 guitarists on that recording.
and
Sounded
I
like
will tell
maybe
you
there was
why.
one.
I will tell you why. Chris Shelton on bass and Phil Chamberlain on drums. Does that name sound familiar?
Phil Chamberlain. Is he Spencer Chamberlain's brother?
Well, no, you tell me. The guy in the middle to the I guess that'd be the right of the guy in the middle.
Yeah,
Does he?
listen.
Yeah. Doesn't he look familiar?
Yeah, dude. And I'm looking at a picture of him over here too with the whole band and like that. Yeah, that he looks just like Spencer Chamberlain.
Yes. Yep. He plays drums in To Speak of Wolves. The band would find themselves signing with Tragic Hero Records to produce their first EP entitled 2009's Following Voices EP, produced by guitarist Drew Folk. Songs on this EP include If We Don't, Who Will? The Traveler, This Light Stays On, Nothing Continues to Happen, and the finale, Vultures. Okay, so is this the album you're talking about that you said sounds like there's only one guitarist?
Yeah.
Okay,
Well,
so
Curtis, most of these
go ahead, man.
albums sound like there's one guitarist.
Okay.
Like it's a lot of these are very poorly mixed.
Produced.
Like
Yeah.
yeah, and some of them they have the vocals so much louder than the
Everything
music.
else.
So you almost can't even tell like what the hell is going on. It's and not in a good way. Like I don't know. It's
Not in a chariot way.
yeah. I don't know.
So you don't like the album.
No, I'm not saying that. There's I felt confused about listening to a lot of this because there are tracks that are good, and I did save a few of them, but most of it's just kind of mediocre and it sounds like it's been done 1,000 times. And that's what I was saying, like, hey guys, Under Oath and Oh Sleeper are their own bands, and they already did this years before you, and it really feels like you're just piggybacking off of a lot of the stuff they did.
Yeah, and I contribute because they do get the comparison of like Under Oath sound, and I do contribute part of that to Phil Chamberlain being the brother of Spencer Chamberlain. And of course, by now, 2009, when they released their first EP, we're talking before Disambiguation. Oh, well, actually, did Sound of Separation come out in 2009, I think? It was either 2008 or 2009 that it came out. So you're talking about Under Oath being well into their years with even with just Spencer, three full-length albums before To Speak of Wolves even gets anything out. So yeah, I definitely think that they're going with that. They're trying to like chase after that sound and trying to chase after that high, and just kind of being one of those bands that are just trying to copy almost. Yeah, for me personally, this band, listening to all of their albums, for one thing, the 3 different vocalists, all 3 of them make me think of a vocalist from a different band. I couldn't ever think of who this guy made me think of, but his style made me think of somebody else. I can't hear you. You're on mute again.
Sorry, is it the same as is the same guy from Myself and Letting Go?
No. So you're gonna have the guy who's doing vocals on Falling Voices. This is the only album he's on. And then the guy that's on Myself Letting Go is only on Myself Letting Go. And then the guy behind you in the middle is on the rest of the albums,
Okay.
the two last full lengths and the EP. The guy on Myself Letting Go, he makes me think his vocal style, his uncleans, make me think of Atreyu. I don't remember what that guy's name is, but he makes me think of that guy's screams. Um, and then the guy that's on the last two albums, the guy behind you, he makes me think of oh, what's his name? He was a guitarist in the Chariot, and he did a little bit of backing vocals in the Chariot, and now he's in a band. I think with at least one, maybe two former Chariot members. Um, see what his name is real quick here. Brian, was it Brian Rusletary? No, wait a minute. Hold on. Maybe it was. Yeah. The guy I'm thinking of is Brian Russell Taylor. He played guitar for the Chariot from '08 to 10.
Okay.
So he was on Wars and Long Live, and he did backing screams on that band. And then he's in a band now called I have it here somewhere. Um Dude, what is that band name? I used to know it right off the top of my head. Is it the Cranberries? Maybe it's the Cranberries. Let's see. The Threats. Yeah, that's the band name. They don't
Okay.
have much. I think they have just at least one EP. And it's pretty good. His vocal style is really nice. I like it. But the newest vocalist in To Speak of Wolves makes me think of that vocal style. But I can never like put a finger on like who this guy on Following Voices, Aaron Marsh, couldn't think who he made me think of. But in terms of like overall their discography, this is one of those bands where it's like I don't hate it, but yeah, I'm with you. It's like you can tell that they're trying to be something that they're not. Like they're trying to follow in somebody else's footsteps, instead of just creating their own path, you know.
Yeah.
And we'll get some quotes on that here in just a little bit of some comparisons and such. Okay, so I did mention that there's going to be some major lineup turnover here, so bear with me here. The EP would be the only album to feature all original members except Phil Chamberlain, who would be the only remaining member after everyone left. Up until this day, he's actually the only original member left. So your new lineup heading into their first full-length album is going to be Rick Jacobs on vocals, Corey Doran on guitar, Aaron Kissling on guitar, Will McCutcheon on bass, and Phil Chamberlain on drums. Pretty crazy that I just kind of would like to know is like what happened did between recording their first EP and maybe going on some some touring for it. What happened for like major turnover for a bunch of these guys to be like, yeah, I don't want to do this anymore. I mean, it could be personal life stuff. I don't know, but be kind of interesting to find out.
Yeah.
Narissa Judd from underthegunreview.com wrote about the band following their first EP, saying, quote, "To Speak of Wolves is a collaborative force of prior talents. This combined effort fuses a mix of aggressive elements with meandering melody and an uncompromising expression of beliefs. After inception, they signed to Tragic Hero Records and quickly released their debut EP, Falling Voices. This release proved their potential, but they carried a stigma of being labeled as an inexperienced present-day Underoath. Following Voices also displayed the band's incohesion as a unit, but after a myriad of lineup changes, To Speak of Wolves have finally settled with one that works. So maybe that's kind of our answer is just the chemistry wasn't there. And you could tell that, yeah, on that EP, it doesn't sound like it's like they're all on the same page. It sounds a little disjointed for sure. The band would find themselves signing on with Solid State Records to put out their first full-length album, 2010's Myself Letting Go, or maybe it's Myself Less Than Letting Go, or Letting Go is Greater Than Myself. Yeah, we're trying to figure it out. We're
I
just gonna
knew it.
go
I
with
knew they were a Christian band.
oh yeah. Yeah, we're just gonna go with Myself Letting Go from Solid State Records. What gave it away, Josh? What gave it away?
Well, to me, it gave it away when they signed with Solid State.
Solid State. Not everybody's a Christian
But
band that signs to Solid State.
I know, but I have my suspicions based on a lot of the lyrics, and I didn't
Yeah,
even like look at a lot of lyrics, just stuff I heard, you know.
yeah.
Um,
Produced by Brooks Paschal and Tyson Shipman, this is the only album to feature vocalist Rick Jacobs and bassist Will McCutcheon. Original members Aaron Shelton and Chris Shelton would contribute musically to some songs before their departure. Narissa Judd from UnderTheGunReview.com wrote in her review of the album, quote, "To Speak of Wolves exhibits a matured," I really almost said masturbated.
oh, I thought you were just gonna say a mess.
A mess. Exhibits a mess. Exhibits a matured musicianship and strengthened songwriting ability on Myself Letting Go. They also increased their melodic tendencies and added more clean singing to their otherwise persisting heavy persona. These changes alone enable Myself Letting Go to exceed anything on their first EP. The album kicks off promisingly with Darkness Often Yields the Brightest, which immediately sets the tone for the rest of the album. Sets the tone the rest of the album tends to stick closely to. My bad. The track opens with raw sounding drums that kick up to a full assault of harsh vocals and intense riffing. One of the most prominent distinguishing traits this album has over its predecessor is their use of aforementioned clean singing. Each track incorporates them, but most are used to create melodic and catchy choruses. The opening track exhibits the most commendable soaring chorus as the powerful falsetto sing, "Watching the mountains fall into the sea, head in your hands and stumbled to bended knees." Trust but Verify also had an exceptionally strong vocal line. On a lyrical note, To Speak of Wolves have always displayed their faithful ideals and hopeful attitude towards life. Myself Letting Go continues with this trend, most notably on the second track, You Should Have Locked Your Door. After a barrage of build-ups and breakdowns, the song's conclusion includes the spoken words, "When he shall come with trumpet sound, oh, may I then in him be found, dressed in his righteousness alone, faultless to stand before the throne." This line was taken from the familiar hymn, The Solid Rock, and proves their foundation is built upon their loyal convictions. She goes on to finish her review by saying, quote, "Overall, To Speak of Wolves have improved in every aspect, but still have yet to fully break free from a predictable battle plan. While the harsh vocals tend to remain in the same range, but the impeccable clean singing and melodic sensibilities are a welcomed addition. Myself Letting Go's infrastructure is sculpted by an undeniable message of hope while weaving back and forth with aggression and melody. This is a commendable release, but fails to deliver from start to finish. Songs on this album include Darkness Often Yields the Brightest Light, You Should Have Locked Your Doors Days Ago, Trust But Verify, Dimming the Light, White Dress, Red Letter, Just One Last Time, In the Midst of the City, Quercus Alba, featuring Spencer Chamberlain of Under Oath. I wonder how they got that guy. Yeah, wonder if they got like a pull or something. Maybe they know him personally.
Probably that guy in the band who looks just like him.
It's so weird how, I mean, they look almost exactly alike.
They
dude.
almost look like twins.
Yeah. Your cage may not have bars, but it's still a cage, and the finale, nothing ever ends. What do you think of 2010's Myself Letting Go, Josh?
For this time period,
Processing.
Okay, so the EP came out in 2009. This one came out in 2010. It's too little, too late by this point.
Yeah. You think they missed their timing?
Yes, I do. And they also didn't come out nearly strong enough to hang with everybody else who's, coming out like them at that time. The first thing that popped into my mind was We Came as Romans.
Yep.
And they're like this times 1,000. Even that
Right.
first EP that they put out went so much harder than that EP.
Is it 2009 to plant a seed? Or is it 2010? Or is it 08?
It's
Or is it
somewhere in there. It's,
07?
it's 08 to 10 for
Okay,
sure.
yeah.
Let me
That's why I
see
was
here.
thinking. Oh, I was going to look it up real quick while you kept talking.
But I don't know, like
2009.
that's okay. That's my main take there is just like it's just too little too late, and neither of these albums come out hard enough and strong enough to, you're only an EP and the main album and you've already swapped out your vocalist, you know.
And now you're
Um,
about to swap them out again.
yeah, and they're gonna change them again here in a
See,
minute.
and
So
that's one of the problems too. That's like you're saying, it's not helping the situation where it's like you're changing out some really key components of guitarist and vocalist, and it's like if you can't keep that consistent, then yeah, your sound's going to just continuously change and you're always going to be searching, you know.
yeah. Yeah, they've got
So,
like at this time they've got to compete with We Came as Romans, Word Alive,
mm,
even Bless the Fall, dude had already made
true.
a solid mark. Like these are bands that like if you're gonna be in the same ring with a Skylit Drive.
Well, then even like the ones we talked about, I mean, with Under Oath, yeah, like I said, they're well established by now. And then Oh Sleeper, they're pretty well established by now too, because they've already got by the time 2010 rolls around, they've already got When I'm God and Son of the Morning out. And they're about to release Children on Fire or Children of Fire, Children on Fire. That too, but yeah, so I mean, yeah, you're definitely behind. What do you have like a time period? Do you think like 2005, 2004 maybe that they should have come in?
I don't even think the time is really what matters. It's
Okay.
like,
Well, you said something about timing, so I didn't know.
well, I'm just saying, like for that time frame, for what they're trying to be, they would
Mm.
have had to have come in a million times stronger. It's the fact that the
Oh,
band
gotcha. I got what you're
is
saying now.
weak sauce. The band is weak sauce.
Weak
So
sauce.
they, yeah, it doesn't matter if you'd put them in even 4 or 5 years before, like I think they still would have just been mediocre, but you're standing in a lot of people's shadow. You're coming
It's
in
true.
sounding like a Skylit Drive or sounding like We Came as Romans, but you're trying to sound like Oh Sleeper and Under Oath. Like this sounds like a bad Oh Sleeper album, like a really bad Oh Sleeper album.
Okay. Huh.
Like there's
Interesting.
elements here, but it just seems like over the course of these albums, they never really get their shit together.
It's like you're right there, but you can't like get over the hump,
Yeah. For
you
every
know.
great track, there's one after it that
You're
is
like,
complete
ah.
ass. Like, yeah.
Oh man. Is
So
there
I don't, it
so
sucks.
yeah, in terms of let's just talk about this album. Was there any songs that you saved?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. I know you said you saved some songs throughout their discography, but I didn't know which ones.
No, I think I saved a couple on Find Your Worth.
Oh, okay. Come home.
Um, yeah,
Okay. Cool. Well, that is 2010's Myself Letting Go. Josh, would you like to hear the O Sleeper connection to this band?
sure. Yep.
Okay. Rick Jacobs, vocalist on the previous album, would be replaced by then O Sleeper merch guy, William Gage Spears on vocals.
Oh,
So,
sleeper merch guy.
merch guy, glorified roadie. Yeah. I want to be
Okay.
just like the band, man. I want to be just like you. Well, here's your chance, buddy.
I know a
Will
lot of times those guys are just like a musician friend of theirs,
right,
or it's a
yeah.
guy from another band who like is just touring with them because his band's not touring right then or
Right. I
whatever.
just need something to do, man.
Yeah,
Get that itch. You got to be on the road.
yeah.
Will McCutcheon on bass would be replaced by Seth Webster, who at the time was bassist for Upon a Burning Body. Immediately after the recruitment of the new members, the band would begin to write their new record, their sophomore album, 2012's Find Your Worth, Come Home from Solid State Records. Produced by Matt McClellan. And interesting note, Josh, this album was recorded at Glow in the Dark Studios in Atlanta, Georgia. I don't think
Okay.
though that he had any what's his name? Cranberries. What is his name? Matt Goldman. I couldn't find his any credits to him on this album. So I think he was just letting them record there at his studio. In an interview with HM Magazine, drummer Phil Chamberlain talked about the writing process and what the album sounds like by stating, check this one out, Josh. This is kind of interesting. Quote, most of the record was written on the piano. Aaron sat at his dad's baby grand and wrote for months. We were lodgers for the entire writing of Find Your Worth. We were listening to a lot of Tom Waits' The Heart of Saturday Night and Bowie's Heroes. It's weird to think about, but we only listened to music that sounded nothing like To Speak of Wolves. We didn't want the record to sound like all the bullshit that we'd been hearing for so long. Find Your Worth, Come Home sees the revitalized lineup reaching into darker, heavier, and faster territory. It's an album of rediscovery and an album that freshly stamps what To Speak of Wolves is about, from the title on down. I was so confused when I first read that quote. I was like, what? We're going to listen to Tom Waits and David Bowie, and that's how we're going to write this album on the piano.
Who
Interesting.
the hell knows, man?
But again, I think it goes back to what you were just talking about in this last time. It's like it just contributes more to the idea. It's like they don't know what they're doing. It's like
Yeah,
you're not
no
helping
idea
yourself.
what you're doing. Yeah.
Like, what are we doing here? Songs on this album include Hive Mind, not to be confused with the Norma Jean song, Hive Mind. Standalone Complex featuring Micah Kennard from Oh Sleeper. I wonder how they got that guy to come in there. It's like they got some pull or something.
Let me ask you this. When was Wrongdoers?
Wrongdoers was after this, 2013. So they came up with Hive Mind first, buddy.
Ugh, that sucks.
Yeah.
That hurts.
Yeah. Vertigo, Broken Birds, A Simple Thought That Changed Everything, Nostalgia Seeds. You're gonna have to help me with this one. It's French. I'm not French. I'm American. Je suis fini. Sounds Frenchy. Yeah. Oregon, Dialysis, Dreams, Void Walker, and the finale, Rearview Memories, featuring Levi the Poet, some spoken word artist, and his sister Brie McAllister. Okay, so what songs on this album did you save, Josh? I'm a poet. You know what that makes me think of? It makes me think of the guy that the Chariot took on tour that was a poet. What was that? It was on that DVD. Ladies and Gentlemen, the Chariot. But it was one guy who was a poet.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I can't remember what his name is. Anyway. Yeah, what songs did you save off of this one?
I saved, I don't remember why, but I saved Broken Birds. I feel like that one was for Not a Good Reason. And then Organ and Voidmaker were musically, there were some pretty sick parts in those. I was like, okay, all right. Like, see, that's the tough thing, is that like it's not even a few good songs and then there's like a down one. Because I can live with that. But it's the fact that it literally goes from a decent song to a crappy one, to a decent one to a crappy one. It's just like there's too much back and forth.
So let me ask you this. I know you said that you had a problem with the mixing of these albums, the mixing and production of all these albums. from what you could hear musically, did you like what you heard? Forget the vocals. I know it's overbearing at times, but
This one's put
musically,
together the best.
okay,
And this one, I feel like so far they're at their peak musically.
okay, okay,
So it's
cool.
building to something, but I don't know, man. I can always hear when there's only one guitarist and it just sounds hollow. Like it
So
doesn't,
we,
it works in some bands, but it doesn't work in this kind of music because it will
yeah.
always betray you and sound hollow.
So what do you think? What do you think the deal is then? If with just hearing just basically one guitar,
What do you mean?
like what's contributing to that? I mean, they have two guitarists, so why does it sound like there's only one guitar?
I don't know. Maybe
Is it just a mixing thing, or is it just like we're just not coherent enough to make two different guitar parts, so the rhythm guitarist is really just kind of following too closely?
in the EP, I could see
Of course, it's not
maybe
like they're
them being recorded like in the same track,
true, yeah.
And that definitely wouldn't help. But I don't know. Yeah, I mean it straight up just sounds like there's only one guitar playing to me on that EP.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like they're busting out solos or anything like that, but maybe it's just maybe it's just a deal where it's like the guitarists are not like I don't want to say not good enough, but just not like experienced enough maybe to I don't know. I really don't know. And I meant to ask you this earlier.
I think
Is that a
there's
snake on his shoulder? Or is that just some of his hair? And the guy in the middle.
oh,
What is that?
I don't know. I can't see it. It's not big on my side.
That's weird. It's like a snake or something. That's why I was leaning there. I was trying to look at it. Like,
Like,
it's either like a dreadlock, one little dreadlock, or it's a snake. I don't know. Yeah, just kind of interesting. I would kind of like to know what the deal is with that.
I think
Why it
it's a
just sounds like
lot
that.
because I'm running through like one of the tracks right now. I think it's a lot of they're just playing the exact same thing all the time. And then, yeah, somebody's got to be turned down in the mix because there's not that full force of two guitars coming at you.
Yeah. Hmm.
I think there at least it's just poor mixing.
Okay. Well, that's
You could
2012's. Go ahead.
you can feel it a little bit more in Myself and Letting Go. There's like a little bit more variety and you can feel that there's a little bit more there, but yeah,
Right.
whatever they were doing on that EP was pretty rough. Um yeah, and
Well,
then
very
musically,
rough, especially for it's like Tragic Hero is not like a terrible record company. I mean, I
yeah.
would put them close to, at least at that time, close to Solid State's like stature. So it's like, okay, what are we doing here? What's the problem? I mean, I understand too, it's like it was produced by a guitarist in the band. So I don't know. I'm with you though. It's kind of raw though.
What sucks is
Poorly
in the
done.
songs I saved, there were some moments where I was like, okay, the pieces are here.
Mhm.
If they could find a way to cohesively put them together in their own sound that didn't feel like it was just kind of pulling off of other people's,
Mhm.
then I think they might have something here because the pieces are there. Like there's some really great guitar stuff being done. There's some really interesting, like odd riffs that
Right.
sound really cool that only last for a little bit. Um,
What about the drumming style by Phil? What do you think about that? He's got a
I do
unique
like the
style.
drums. I do
Yeah,
I
he's
do
got a
like the
very unique
drums.
style
Yeah.
for sure.
It doesn't make me really think of anybody too much.
Oh no, I'm not saying it. Yeah, I'm just saying in general, he's got a very unique style.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So yeah.
yeah. I do have to say though, Curtis, this
Hmm?
is making an official statement here from My Chemical Romance to Speak of Wolves. We need to all agree we're not doing cancer songs anymore. They're out. Cancer
Oh
songs,
geez.
they're done.
Uh,
We
Put them to
in
bed,
the
people.
music world,
It's
we
been
beat
done.
cancer because we're not doing any more songs about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, did not care for Dialysis Dreams. I don't come to a heavier album like this to leave feeling depressed. I
Yeah.
come to leave feeling amped up.
I mean,
Um,
rear view memories doesn't help that either. So
no, no, it
yeah,
does
that
not.
really kills you. I
Um,
remember so I think it's I don't think it's this album. I think it's their last or their newest full-length one, Dead in the Shadow. There was a deal where I'd read the vocalist said something about to get like lyrically ready to write like songs and everything like that. He did like three things. I can't remember what one of them was, but the other two was he would read he would read Psalms 88 every day, and then he after that he would read like suicide notes. It's like what the heck is happening here? Why would you want to put yourself in a depressing spot? Yeah, I was just like, what are you doing to yourself, dude? Yeah, I don't know, man.
this is all terrible. I'm looking at a picture here where two of the five guys are wearing floppy hats. That's a party foul.
Oh,
I don't
share that photo. I want to see that.
let me pull
I
up
want to see that,
the
bro.
one I
Floppy
had.
hats. What do you mean floppy hats? Like fedoras?
No, I mean floppy hats.
Like a Brian's hat from I Think You Should Leave? Dude, you check out Brian's hat today? It looked terrible. It's
No,
like a
not like that.
fedora. It's like a fedora and what was the other thing they said? It was like something mix or what it was. But you grease your wheels? Yes, I grease my wheels. Why wouldn't I grease my wheels? Floppy hats.
All right,
Now,
here we
now you're
go.
making me think they're like some huge hats or something. They're gigantic hats. I'm still not seeing anything. No, wait a minute. Hold on. Oh, hippie hats. Those are some hipster hats, bro.
Yeah.
Ugh. Yeah.
Um, yeah, everything about this, Curtis, is horrible.
Ugh, hippie. Let me get that hipster off my screen. All right. That is 2012's Find Your Worth, Come Home from Solid State Records. The band would find themselves on tour supporting their newest album. But when the tour ended, the band quietly vanished into thin air. And so fans were left with one EP and two full length albums, and no true reason for the disappearing act. Looking back on the band's vanishing act sometime later, founding member and drummer Phil Chamberlain said, quote, "We never really talked about the band. We
Phil said,
just
quote, it was a real dick move.
quote, we never really talked about the band. We just stopped talking about the band," end quotes. Yeah. So it almost makes me wonder. It's like
We were all just
some of the
like,
guys are
meh.
just kind of like, we're just gonna try to ghost each other on this one,
Yeah,
and it worked out because everybody was trying to do the same exact thing.
this is weird.
In vocalist Gage Spee's own words on the subject, he stated, quote, "Honestly, we were burned out and we didn't know how to handle ourselves. We were all going through heavy personal stuff, and always being on tour made us all feel exhausted and trapped. We didn't know how to balance it all out."
He was
Yes.
burned out from the
I'm
one
burned
album he was
out,
on.
bro.
From the
That's what I
one
was thinking.
album he was on.
That's what,
He's like the
man, that's
newest
what I was
member of
thinking
that
too.
band. He's like, we're
But
just
not even,
worn out,
yeah,
man.
but not even that. It's like, dude, there's only like, I mean, by that time, at the most, I mean, Phil's got three albums in him if you're including the EP. But then next to him, there's like two guys that have two full length albums in them. It's like, what do you mean you're burned out? You guys haven't done jack squat yet,
Yeah,
man.
you haven't done anything yet.
Oh boy. Sometime later, fans would have to wait no, excuse me. Fans would have to wait 4 years before the question was brought to forefront by the band's social media page. Quote, should we do another record? On the response from the
To
fan
which
base.
all 14,000 people who listened to the record said, yeah.
On the response from the fan base, Chamberlain stated, quote, it was crazy. In the same way we stopped talking about the band, we started talking about the band again. It just happened. We put something online asking if anybody would want us to start making music again, and we were overwhelmed by the 2,000 people. No, by how many people freaked out about it. Chamberlain also stated on the band's future quote, we wanted to make sure our fans knew we were back in it for the long haul. Oh God.
Here we go.
Here we go.
Making promises he can't keep.
Yeah, I say, because you know what that means. We're gonna dip after one album because we're burnt out again.
Yeah. Dude, we haven't talked about this yet, but
yeah, go ahead.
the amount of
Is this
plays.
Spotify? Yeah, I want to hear Spotify numbers.
Dear God. Curtis, just for comparison, there's a local band here that got signed within the last year, Cliff Diver, and they have far more plays on all of their Spotify stuff than this band does.
Okay.
20,000 is the
Total?
height of New Bones. Okay.
Oh, okay.
They have 2,000 monthly listeners.
Sheesh.
That ain't shit. 20,000 plays on Okay, I'll Be a Part of This World, and then it just drops from there. The highest plays they have on a song is from when they released the single Haunt Me from the album after this.
Yeah.
And it was 126,000. That is by far the highest of anything else they have. They've got 30,000 on one song. They've got 50,000 on one song and a bunch of like 12,000s. And that's on the most recent. The older stuff, which should have more plays. Yeah, I mean, you would think it's been out there longer.
Right.
Has way less plays. I've got some 30s, a 40, 20. Okay. I didn't see that before. Rear View Memories. That one actually has 261,000 plays because there's a lot of people who apparently like to listen to things like that and get real depressed and sad.
Jeez Louise.
But other than that, man, like Myself and Letting Go, all like 21, 15, 18, and then Following Voices, not over 8,000 on any of them. So,
well, definitely a rocket that never got off the ground. People sputtered out.
We were blown away by the 20,000 people that listened to the first song on this album and then stopped listening.
No, I'm blown away by the amount of people that listen to Rear View Memories. Good Lord, there's a lot of depressed people that need help.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
That's the song that has the most plays in your discography? Twice as many plays as the next below it.
Right.
That's really weird.
Coming back for the revival would be members Gage Spees on vocals, Corey Doran on guitar, Seth Webster on bass, and Phil Chamberlain on drums. But guitarist Corey Doran would end up leaving the band and be replaced by Andrew Gaultier on guitar. 2016 brought us a brand new EP from the band, New Bones EP from Cardigan Records. IndieVisionMusic.com writer Zach Zinn reviewed the EP stating, quote, it's a worrisome thing coming back after so much time passing. Usually when bands take years off, they return with only a hint of what they once had simply because they lost the sound they used to call their own. It's my great pleasure, not mine, Zach's, not mine, Zach Zinn of IndieVisionMusic.com. It's his great pleasure to tell you that this is not the case with New Bones. Well, it's mine too, I guess. The chaotic and emotional sound of To Speak of Wolves is back with a heavy hitting EP that returns with the sound of Find Your Worth, Come Home, yet shows so much progression of the band. It's as if they never even left us.
None of that
Really?
should be a problem for them because they never had a sound of their own.
That's what I was gonna say. It's like because they
So,
lost the sound, they used to call their own. What sound?
yeah.
You
It's
mean
like,
the
well,
the
that's
sound of
not
just
going to be a
like
problem for
hitting
you
notes on a
guys because
guitar and okay.
you don't have a sound you call your own. You're just borrowing from other people.
Songs include "Okay, I'll Be a Part of This World," "New Bones," "What the Wind Reaps," "Phantom Limb," "Can't Stop What's Coming," and "Pegasus Project." Can't stop what's coming. Yeah, I don't know
Can't
why.
stop, won't stop.
Makes you think of like a POD song or something.
Right.
Can't stop what's coming. Kick, kick, kick. Oh man, do you have anything to say about this EP? Because I really have nothing to say about it.
Oh,
I
it's
skipped this day, man.
it's super mediocre. I didn't skip a single thing on here. I listened to every track from this band, and like I can tell you, this EP is just mediocre. Like,
Yeah.
if you like this, do yourself a favor and go out and find some bands that do this right. Because if this works for you, then you're going to be blown away with what you hear.
And what kind of bands are those, Josh? Do you have some examples for us?
Like, Under Oath is a
Mhm.
band that they are clearly trying to capture some of that sound on Find Your Worth for sure.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
But then also, like we said, Oh Sleeper. Like,
Wonder if Phil's the younger brother. He's always just trying to like do what his older brother does. You know?
maybe.
Yeah. After the release of their EP, the band would reunite with Solid State Records to release their newest full length album to date, 2017's Dead in the Shadows. Oh, excuse me, Dead in the Shadow. It's just plural, shadow, just one shadow. GerderMusic.com described a few of the individual songs, saying the quote, album opener Haunt Me is one of the album's brightest moments. A grand display of the aforementioned controlled chaos, recalling aspects of Under Oath's Define the Great Line. Haunt Me is catchy in its heaviness without relying on conventional choruses or melodies. Elsewhere, Deathbed Chimes is amusingly similar to Norma Jean's Deathbed Atheist. And in parentheses, he says, to be fair, Wolves had an opener titled Hive Mind a year before Norma Jean opened an album with Hive Minds. Beat you to the punch. There's a fascinating similarity between those three solid state acts, all of them built notoriety off their debut albums, only to unexpectedly lose their frontman. Each band replaced its frontman successfully, and few fans seem to point to any of those debuts as their respective best works. However, in many regards, To Speak of Wolves is still trying to live up to the reputation of its second album and first with frontman Gage Spee's 2012's Find Your Worth, Come Home. Okay, so this guy stating that the debut albums with original vocalists from these three bands, Norma Jean, Under Oath, and then To Speak of Wolves, which we've already talked about. To Speak of Wolves. What's your thought on the debut albums from Under Oath and Norma Jean? So Norma Jean would be Bless the Martyr, and then Under Oath would be The Changing of Times.
You're going to call Changing of Times their first.
Well, it's their first with their original vocalist. That's what they're considering. It's their first full length because all those other ones, I believe, were EPs.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Obviously, Changing of Times really has. It's not a fair representation of what you're going to get from Under Oath down the
No, for
line.
sure. Yeah.
And then also Bless the Martyr, kind of the same thing, you know. It's it's a different band under Josh Scoggins. So
Yeah.
I mean, both I think are good albums,
Mhm.
but
But not what's coming afterwards.
yeah,
Yeah, not as good as what's coming next. And again, kind of like we talked about in episodes before, with both those bands, you get two bands out of one. So, with Maylene and Under Oath, and then Norma Jean and the Chariot after that.
yeah.
Songs on this album include Haunt Me, I Had to Let Go, Escape Sun, Enemies to Everyone, Deathbed Chimes, The Impaler, Braided Bay, Ashes Over My Eyes, Touch, and the finale, I Am the Shovel, I Am the Grave.
I'm a shovel.
The bebopping and scatting, I am the shovel, I am the grave. Slam poetry. Any songs on here that you saved, Josh?
Um, I believe it was Touch.
Okay. All right.
I think so.
Now he's gonna have to check here.
Double check here. Yeah, it was Touch. Um, and I think it's just that guitar line at the end with the drums it's super simple. It's just the da 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 da, and it changes like speed a couple times in there
Mhm.
before it slows up at the end. But yeah, for me, vocally, not a lot of this does anything. It's stuff I've heard. It's nothing new,
It's repeat,
and
yeah.
yeah,
Well, and that's kind of like what I was saying at the beginning of the episode. That's one thing for me with like the vocals. It's like all three of these vocalists sound like somebody else to me. They sound like somebody, I've already heard before,
yeah.
And so, yeah, I don't know. So let me ask you, just more of confirmation on this album. Does it sound like there's just one guitarist?
No,
Really? Because there's only one guitarist on this album.
really. Hold on.
Yeah, because there's only Andrew Gulchier on this album playing guitar. So I was kind of curious to see if it still sounded like just one guitarist or not, or if it actually sounded like there was two. Sometimes that happens. Unlike the newest O Sleeper album that
It's
you know
definitely mixed better,
mhm.
but yeah, for sure. Like there is kind of that hollow sound.
Okay. Yeah, I was kind of curious about that. I was like, I wonder if he thinks there's only
Yeah,
yeah.
and it's like it's mixed a little bit better, so it sounds a little bit more filled out, but
Mhm.
there you can definitely tell like changing parts and stuff. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, there's no transition. Like this is one guy.
Yeah. Well, recently in fall of 2022, the band released a single entitled Annihilation, which makes me wonder if they've got brand new music coming on the horizon. My thing
Let's hope not.
is, well, my thing with like this band is they almost kind of make me think of, it's probably not a good comparison. Not musically, not talent, because you know how much I love Once Nothing. But they always kind of make me think of like categorizing them in the section of a band that's like they, obviously they're not just like at a local status, but they're not on a level of like an Under Oath or Norma Jean or whatever. They're just like kind of like this middle ground band that's just like dipping in and out. You never like they're not consistent with their releases. Um, I don't know, man. Just like I just don't really know. It wouldn't even surprise me if they never put out another album again, you know,
Just dropped like
because
a
it's like this.
single every couple
Well,
years or something.
yeah, well, that seems to be kind of the pattern with a lot of bands now, but yeah, I don't know. Because I mean, even like there's nothing that I found like their social media pages, which are basically non-existent, it seems that have like given any like clue to that, like, oh, we're in the studio, we're recording a new album or anything.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, well, do you guys want to do this or not? You know, And again, it's like if you want to do this, it's like let's sit down, like band meeting now, and let's hammer out what we actually want to do, and let's stick with that, and let's make our own path instead of trying to be somebody else. You know,
It legitimately just cares like, or it legitimately feels like they just don't care.
well, then it's like why even do the band anymore? Then you know,
No idea.
yeah, I don't know. Why don't you just go back to being the merch guy?
There you go.
Go sell some t-shirts. All right, the current lineup is Gage Spees on vocals, Andrew Gaultier on guitar, Seth Webster on bass, and Phil Chamberlain on drums. Before we get out of here, as always, you've heard our opinions. You've heard the facts and our opinions on those facts. No, as always, I mean, we give you our opinions on this stuff, whether we've heard the band or not. But as always, go check it out for yourself because you may like it. You may be one of the 2,000 listeners, the monthly listeners that they have on Spotify. But definitely just go check it out for yourself. Make your own assumption. This is more of, especially like this band, because like obviously through Spotify showing it, they're not well known. So I feel like sometimes we can like bring these bands up that aren't like newer, but they've been around for a little bit, but they just don't have the recognition. And so more of just kind of like get their name out there through us, for people to listen to. So any final thoughts on To Speak of Wolves, Josh?
No, this was fun. I like to talk about a band that we love, but I also like to talk about a band that I don't like. So
Is this sarcasm I'm hearing?
no,
Oh, because I really thought that
no, I
was. I
think
was like,
no,
wow.
it's definitely we've talked about mostly bands that we like, and while there's
It's
been
good
some
to mix it up,
albums
right?
by them that we
Yeah,
haven't really cared for. We haven't talked about a band yet that we pretty much just hate up and down,
it's
so
true. Is it the first one?
I think so.
Hmm. I wouldn't say that I hate them. It's just like I said earlier. It's like they don't really do anything for me. Their music's just there.
Hmm.
Um, you're definitely on the hate side. I know you are.
I mean, it just pisses me off more that like they have all the elements. It just
Yeah,
literally feels like
it's
they don't
there.
care and they
You're
just
right
slap it
there, bro.
together, you know?
Yeah. Hmm. Alrighty. Well, let's get on out of here, Josh. Prepare mentally and physically for the next round of music. Make sure to follow us on X because apparently that's what we're calling it now. I don't understand that name, but all right.
You'll always
Uh,
be Twitter to me.
Formerly known as Twitter, at is survived by pro for news and the latest episode postings, not just on this show, but our other shows as well. We just put out a brand new episode of the History of the Chorus After Hours podcast, and there's going to be a brand new one this week too. It's going to be about the band He Is Legend. Woo! There's also the Red Right Hand podcast. Excuse me. We have covered all 6 seasons of the Peaky Blinders and then some, a little bit of mini episodes in between seasons there. Give me some historical facts on some historical figures. That was always fun.
Those are the
And
most
we've
listened to episodes.
they're
People love
fun,
those
man. They're
episodes.
fun. We've also talked a little bit about the future with the movie. We don't know what's going on with that, man.
It's
Stay
coming. It's
tuned.
coming. Just wait. The movie's coming.
Maybe we'll put out some more episodes where we just like speculate about nothing. So yeah. Where it's like we start out with that tease where it's like the hopeful like, hey, we got some news, and then by the end it's like, well, we really learned nothing. So
The
it's like
clickbait is
come back
like
next week.
Peaky Blinders movie in the works, and then you're
Whoa.
oh, and I'm like,
Whoa.
and then people click on it.
Then people click on it, and then they get disappointed. They're really pissed off at us, and they never listen again. But word of mouth, man, word of mouth, it's out there. Have you guys listened to this crappy podcast? They tricked me, man. You also have the Throne of the Dragon podcast, which so far has covered season 1, soon to be season 2 of the House of the Dragon from HBO. Currently in the Targaryen family historical series. We got a brand new episode of that coming up this next week as well, along with a little season 2 update, some casting updates and such. It's been a lot of people that I don't recognize that are joining the cast apparently. So, not that I'm expecting like a Brad Pitt, or a Ryan Reynolds or anything, but
No,
I
they'll
don't know.
be mostly people you don't know because that's how they
That's
do
how
it
they
with,
roll,
Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon.
which is cool.
Um,
It's fun.
and then we'll also be talking about the actors, but we'll be talking about characters they're going to be introduced to.
Okay.
We won't get spoiler heavy, so don't worry about that. But yeah, we'll be talking about we've just scratched the surface in season 1 of all the people that are going to be involved in
The
this,
dance.
the places. So
It's all
a
about
lot to
people and
cover.
places.
A lot to cover.
So make sure to be on the lookout for that episode coming up this next week. Also, while you're on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, make sure to follow my co-host at Joshua Lynn Gary. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review and write us a comment on whatever podcast service you're using. If you want to listen to us and see our smiling faces, head on over to our YouTube page. This face right here. Yes.
This is a
Just
smile.
search. I am smiling. Just search Is Survived By Productions, and that'll have every episode from all of our shows. Subscribe to the channel. Thumbs up the video. Alrighty. Prepare yourself, Josh. Mentally and physically. You will be tested mentally and physically by the band known as Zayo. Until then, we'll see ya.